Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. Today's episode of Geek Tank Radio is brought to you by Brandon Olmstead's Lightsaber Appendix Removal Services. I mean, the good news is these days, lightsabers are no longer fatal, unless you're unimportant to the plot, and then impalements will be fatal.
Well, sometimes it's important to the plot that you are killed.
Right.
Qui-Gon Jinn. But no, it's a great service, man. It cauterizes as I remove the appendix.
Yeah. Brandon can get 5 or 6 of these done in an hour. I mean, this is not...
It's easy.
In and out, and it's gone, man.
I'm also working on doing LASIK surgery with it, but that doesn't work as well.
No, and the cooking options are endless. But anyway, welcome to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And of course, we're going to talk later. Speaking of lightsabers and non-fatal lightsaber impalements, we're going to talk about Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2.
Right.
Okay. No, we're not going to tip our hand.
We're going to spoil the bejesus out of it.
Oh, we'll spoil it, but I'm not going to give away my thoughts here. I don't know. It's in my mind. I can predict what everybody's going to say about it. So, but we'll discuss that later because I do like that they dropped 2 episodes, and I do like that they're pretty long episodes.
Right. I mean,
it wasn't like a little 20-minute thing here,
which seems to be the Disney downfall when it comes to series.
Right, getting the right line. So, yeah, I mean, I think all in all, it's going to be a positive discussion. But, hey, I don't know if this will be a positive discussion. Maybe it is. Now, Brandon, was this the Supreme Court? A court decided
it was
something about AI that's very noteworthy.
It was a federal judge who has decided that AI art and works, including AI art, are not copyrightable.
I feel like we need to unpack that. What does that mean exactly?
Well, it basically means that if you decide, hey, I'm going to do an entire TV series and then I'm going to create my titles in AI, I'm going to use AI art to do the titles, that basically belongs to everybody now because you can't copyright it.
Now, that's interesting. So you could do... Well, I guess I'm wondering, what is that?
Here.
What qualifies
I'm going to fire up that bus.
That's what I was wondering. I feel like this still needs explanation.
Okay. First of all, I want to say it's great to be back in the studio. It's been a little while.
It is great to have you, brother.
So I'm happy to be back home.
Yep.
But when it comes to the AI stuff, one of the things that the studios have been fighting with the writers and the actors is they want to be able to use AI to touch up scripts. They want to use AI to touch up the CG in the thing. They want to use AI to basically scan your likeness and use it forever.
Right.
But now, using AI-created art, which your likeness being created by AI is art, that's not copyrightable.
That's interesting. Because, I don't know. I guess I don't... Allan, I'm sure this means something legally with that. And I wonder if this is retroactive.
I have an entire bus backed up and ready to go.
Well, we're talking about it now.
All right. All right. Let's start with the fact that, first off, AI is a derivative.
Right. Like you said, it doesn't create anything.
It does not think. It does not create. It goes and extrapolates and then uses mathematical algorithms to create something. Now, the fact that it's got the entire internet to draw from and the fact that it has got, of all of human history to play with is wonderful. But the simple fact is none of it is actually created. It is interpreted. So as a writer, as an actor, as a voice person you could be recorded and by the end of a Geek Tank Radio, Joe, they could have enough information stored on your voice that you could read books for the AI universe for the next 200 years.
That's how it works with Alexa, right? That's basic. They have the actual actress make a bunch of readings, and then
that's how it used to work.
They piece it together.
I have a minor counterpoint. It makes me think of that episode of Star Trek with the holographic doctor. He's a hologram, technically AI, and there was that whole episode where he made his own opera. So how would you respond to that?
Okay, because he is not... he is a hologram construct which were designed to begin by definition in the holodeck, you could create things and turn off safeties so that things on the holodeck could extrapolate and interpretate their own existence, which is way beyond what we consider AI at this point. AI at this point would be, Joe, we recorded you. We've now got an algorithm that sounds just like you, and now we could put you in Citizen Kane, so instead of Orson Welles, we could have Joe Thorntonson going, Rosebud, Rosebud, Rosebud.
I'm just going to go ahead and let you know I'm not watching that.
Okay. Hey, Brandon, now this gives me now this makes me wonder something.
Right.
So, okay, if it's not copyrightable, and you said suddenly this is public domain, we could use it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that de-incentivize the use of AI with studios? And
Yes.
stuff? And that's the point, right?
That's part of the point. I mean,
Okay.
And let's just say that right now the studios are in panic mode.
Good.
You know,
I'm kind of glad. We need a shake-up,
Well,
and especially
let's
with.
look
when
at the head of
I'm
SAG.
not kidding when I say panic mode. They have hired the AMPTP has hired the Levinson Group for crisis management.
I've even heard
Now
of them.
these are the guys you get when your PR firms can't make even your worst stuff look good.
Right.
You know, when you are so bad that the world is turning against you and your PR guys are like going, I don't know what to do, man.
Right.
That's when you call in the Levinson Group. And right now the Levinson Group is going, yeah, you got screwed up.
Well,
So-
And one of the biggest things is they wanted AI, and now judges are saying you can use
You can
it,
have it all you want.
that just means that you can't really profit as much off of it as you think you can.
And maybe your competitors can even profit off of the stuff
yeah.
you put out there.
Well,
So
let's also not forget who's in charge of SAG right now. And it is one of the most recognizable and repeatable voices in history. It's Fran Drescher.
Fran Drescher.
And she really does know what she's talking about when she is a unique voice and talent in the entertainment industry.
It's interesting. I mean, and I'm guessing there's we don't always hear about laws, that we think are actually good being passed. This seems like a good step in the right direction.
It is.
I hope.
And I mean, we've seen what has happened when you can't copyright stuff, and I'll talk about that when we get back.
Okay, so we're going to continue the discussion here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. We'll see who's laughing once the Velociraptor eggs hatch. The Geek Patrol is back.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got 5 of them lined up for security for my house. I don't know.
I'm sorry, we're having an omelet party later.
Yeah. Allan only thinks of his belly. Anyway, welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmsted and Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And before the break, we were talking about this would be, Brandon, you sent us all an article.
Right.
This would be easy to scroll past. If you're just on Google, it says AI art is not copyrightable. However, as you're showing us, there's many ramifications that come from this ruling. And actually, it's probably a good thing in the big picture, right?
I think in the long run, it may help soften the studio's views on using AI and coming around to what the writers and the actors are requesting. I'm hoping. Of course, we've also got a bunch of stubborn old men in charge of the studios who don't want to give up, a percentage of their billions.
I don't know, man. But you talked about PR before the break. Well, a lot of what generates money for them is public relations.
Right.
I mean, you have to feel good about your Disney Plus subscription.
It's true.
And I don't always feel good about it.
Right. And as we're seeing right now, there's a lot of movies that are losing their release dates because they need the actors to promote. And, it's like we know Dune has been moved from, December into March of next year. There's a ton of other movies that, they're basically going, well, we can't put it out. We don't have anybody to promote, and without them doing the rounds, nobody's going to go listen to what the director and the producer are going to say about the movie.
That's a good point. So, yeah. But copyrightable, the word, to me, you could almost replace the word marketable. You're not making money off it, basically, is what it is. So,
And for the ongoing negotiations, I don't know if any of you guys have listened to what is now being referred to as the speech. Miss Drescher made a huge point out as to the number of SAG members that actually make a living as actors and actors, which actors and actresses, which is a fairly small number.
Right.
And she pointed out that, how long could the strike go on? And she pointed out that almost all of her members were used to working second jobs.
Yeah.
So they were dug in and very happy about this type of ruling because, honestly, I mean, I hate to say it, but an actor passes away.
Yeah.
Or you create, I'll pick on the Sci-Fi Channel, you create a specific type of character, a costumed character,
Right.
or possibly even a CGI character. And who's to say they're not going to take your voice, your character, your makeup, the character you brought into being and not do a derivative of it and just honestly make an entire new movie without you.
I don't know if this relates.
I'm going to say Rogue One, Peter Cushing.
Oh, yeah. I didn't
made-
mind that. I thought they did a good job.
Right.
But
But here's the thing is like they had to go to his estate,
Right.
to his family,
Exactly.
and get permission, and then they had to pay them.
that's
what-
true.
what
They
they-
didn't just do it.
Right. What
right.
they want to do now, though, is that when you come in as just a dailies, you get in there, they scan you, and then they just throw you on a mocap guy later on, and you're walking around every Marvel film between now and the end of time, and they're just going to keep cranking those things out with their cookie cutter formulas.
It sounds a lot like what they did in the early days of the comic book industry, and they even still do, which really was unfair to people like Jack Kirby and stuff, this whole work for hire thing.
Right.
You create something, we pay you, your $500, and then we're using that for the rest of the time. So.
But what they're trying to find out a way now is, to go back to the golden age of Hollywood where you signed on with a studio, you got paid so much, a year, and then you belonged to them for whatever they wanted to put you in. I will say that back in those days, your actors and actresses were not just actors. They were showmen.
Right.
They knew how to do everything. Now you have that little typecast situation where it's like Fran Drescher, she's always going to be known for her voice.
Right. Even
so-
though she can do a normal voice.
She can, but she's always going to be
Right.
expected to take that that over exaggerated nasally voice that she used on The Nanny because that's what she's known for.
Mm-hmm.
The moment that somebody goes, all right, well, we can use AI to produce that, it's like, hey, well, why are we doing? Then she's obsolete.
Right.
What about our buddy Tom Kenny?
Well, Tom's obsolete already.
Oh,
Well, that's
wow.
not nice.
I know. I'm kidding.
Tom, we love you. Come
he's
see us again, really.
He's one of the sweetest guys in the world. But yeah, it's
He
like
has the most recognizable voice on the planet.
he does so many voices.
But
that-
one of them is
but yeah.
single-handedly
it's like,
down for it. SpongeBob SquarePants is the most known voice on the planet.
I did want to say something because I like to be optimistic whenever we can. This ruling does give me a sense of hope. This is sort of related, but if you remember back when we're talking about new technology ruining something. Back when instant replay became more prominent in sports, like where they would actually use an instant replay to decide whether a call was correct or not. When that entered into baseball, people hated it because they would stop the game every half inning and replay it, and it took forever and it delayed the game. Then they instituted a rule where you could only do one instant replay, and if you lost the challenge, then you can't use it again. In other words, they modified it. They took a new technology, they still incorporated it in a reasonable way to the game, and it actually makes the game better. So I'm hoping it's going to be the same thing with this. If they're reining in this AI stuff, it doesn't mean you can't use it. Just use it responsibly.
I mean that's the thing is, it's like if AI is used to upscale something,
right.
It's not a bad thing, because everybody's on board with being upscaled.
Mm-hmm.
When AI is being used to create, that's when you cut out the people who actually are creators.
I mean, let's face it. We use AI every day. We have spell check on our phones and stuff. I don't mind that part of it. It's quick
and man, have we
like,
made AI dumb.
well, you better believe
It's never duck.
No, this is a story. And don't use voice to text without double checking what you send out there.
That's true,
boy.
especially if you're Southern like me.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen some some bizarre ones get sent out. Okay. Well, we're going to definitely continue to follow this situation with great interest. But you guys, we're going to shift gears because when we come back, Ahsoka is been launched, and we're going to talk about episodes 1 and 2.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. Baby Yoda hates these guys. The Geek Patrol is back.
Yeah. I mean, Max just loves reminding us of that. Didn't you just tell us that last week, Max? I don't know.
Well, we're talking about Star Wars.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, never mind. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody.
Are you
I'm
sure
Joe
it's not?
Thornton.
Are you sure you guys aren't just replacing Grogu or anybody others named with just my name? It's like a passive aggressive dig at you all.
It might be. Now I forgot where I was at. Welcome
Very good.
back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass,
You
who
know-
just loves throwing me off track.
You know it's a really weird thing when the producer derails the show.
Yeah. Oh, he lives for that.
Well,
yeah.
it's like Grogu. He likes doing that whole, Baby Yoda magic hand thing on the controls.
Right. Okay, so we are
Spoiler
going
territory.
spoiler heavy in this discussion. So if you have not seen Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2, it's not our fault if you get it spoiled here. So we're giving you plenty of heads up. And I really like we said, I like that they launched 2 episodes. It's almost like a movie. I mean, it's really about the length of an average movie.
Yeah.
I think the first episode was like 57 minutes. That's pretty cool.
and
then
the other one
40
was
something.
in the 40s, yeah.
And let's talk about our thoughts about this. So,
I didn't watch it.
okay.
I absorbed it. No, I totally watched it. This was not going to, get weighted on. I know it's only 8 episodes, but I was diving right in.
Well, and I've said before, Ahsoka is my favorite Star Wars character because, and she started off as one of my least favorites, and then by the end of Clone Wars, she's just awesome. But that's one of Dave Filoni's techniques. He makes you hate people for, just like Ezra. I couldn't stand that guy.
I still
Then
can't
at the
stand
end,
Ezra.
He's got
especially-
an annoying haircut. That's the only thing I will say.
I mean,
but-
the worst thing about Ezra is, it's like, he threw an Inquisitor saber at Ahsoka.
Well, I don't know, but he okay. Anyway, but those animateds, as we said, have some of the best emotion and really some of the best sequences in Star Wars. And am I wrong, Brandon? This seems like it's basically a live action Rebels sequel, right?
It is. That's exactly what this is.
So,
You
which
know,
isn't a bad thing. Rebels is
not
great,
even remotely
man.
bad
And they
thing.
left questions out there. So,
And and what's great is the fact that we know that the end of Rebels and the epilogue of Rebels, there's a good chunk of time between those points, and we got to see those points
yep.
because they recreate that final scene in Rebels where Sabine is standing at the mural and Ahsoka shows up to pick her up, and it was just like seeing that scene alone. And I know it's like towards the end of episode 2, and I'm just like sitting there going, giddy. I was like a little kid, and I will admit if I hadn't had any self-control, I would have been bouncing in my chair.
So the only thing I will say that I'm more just curious about, because Disney Plus, their goal is to always get new viewers and new subscribers. Right. Well, they're really taking a lot for granted here, because if you didn't watch Rebels and even Clone Wars, I feel like they didn't really explain a lot. I wonder if you would even have any clue who Ahsoka is or what she's up to.
Well, first of all,
or
everybody,
Sabine or any of those guys.
Here's the thing. First
they
of all,
didn't set it up really.
Everybody who is anybody who is remotely gives a damn about Star Wars knows who Ahsoka is because they watched The Mandalorian.
Okay.
We have seen her there. We have seen her in Book of Boba Fett. And people, as soon as they go, all right, well, it's this, they have to go on, Disney Plus to watch them. And they're like, where do I know this? And then they watch the Clone Wars and then they watched Rebels. And Disney's talked about how those jumped in viewership after she showed up in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Now, what they're doing on top of that right now is if you go to the main page for Ahsoka on your Disney Plus, on the app and everything, right there, it also gives you a link to go to look at merchandise.
Gee, go figure.
Because it's the mouse, and they're going to sell you on everything.
Right.
Well, I will give the mouse one tiny little prop in this. And Joe, it's an answer to your comment about who is she.
Yeah.
At this point, if you don't know, please do not do another origin story. Thank you.
Well, that's true. They did not.
I will say that going into Ahsoka, they have had the good sense to assume you are an educated consumer of this product, or you wouldn't be excited about it.
Now, what I hope we'll see, though, Allan, in a moderated way, I still think because Hayden Christensen is back. Everybody loves Hayden Christensen now. Everybody's,
we're done
welcoming him back.
We're back loving him.
Nobody's hating him, and so I could see some flashback sequences where you see a younger Ahsoka with him.
Well,
why not? I mean, and
already confirmed.
Okay, good. I'd actually like to see that.
Yeah,
I mean,
as
that
part
dynamic
of
is pretty
organized
cool.
storytelling in a movie or series, that is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But,
But the thing you're going to get with those Hayden flashbacks, it's like with the flashback in the Obi-Wan series with Hayden and, Ewan McGregor. These are things that happened that we haven't seen before.
That's what we want. Yeah, we don't want something rehashing, something we already saw.
Bingo.
Right. We don't need a live action. Well, that's a good point, Allan, because we don't need Batman's origin
But have
story.
you noticed?
Oh my gosh.
This is very much on point and on brand for Star Wars. Is that they don't give you someone's origin every time they show up. They give you a flashback to something we've never seen before.
That is relevant.
With Book of Boba Fett, we always knew he escaped the Sarlacc pit. They showed us what happened to him afterwards.
Right. Needed a bath.
I think what's nice about certain when they're showing like little backstories and everything is when they don't use a lot of words, because the Book of Boba Fett, they actually did that very well, where not a lot of dialogue occurred during the
backstory.
That's right.
Yeah,
I can
say
English. I love.
It's a Sunday morning, Max. We're all hoping for English.
I love the character of Ahsoka, and I will say I do like this show a lot. I think it's good. My only minor criticism is that I want to see a little bit more emotion out of Rosario Dawson. She's a little one-dimensional here. She's a great actress. I want to see. And Ahsoka is a very emotional character. She can show the whole range. So I'd like to see some of that.
What you're seeing more is like the final season of Clone Wars, where her and her crew were out there doing that, and she was very stoic and very cold. And that's because she knows where her emotions will get her.
Kind of like with Eren Yeager in Attack on Titan. He became very cold and stoic.
Yeah, but still, part of what makes Ahsoka who she is she still has that final episode of Clone Wars is a perfect example.
Yep.
So, all right, well, we're going to continue the conversation about Ahsoka when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. Fun fact, the Submariner's house doesn't have bathrooms. The Geek Patrol is back.
I mean, you've heard of free-range chickens and things, so I mean, that's anyway.
I don't even want to hear the word floater.
Yeah. I don't know that was a fun fact, Max.
How did they do toilet paper down there? Because this weekend was International Toilet Paper Day.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
a lot of questions.
That sounds like a Tool Talk subject. We'll walk away from that.
It was a Tool Talk subject.
More
Aren't
questions than anyway, let's move it along.
Right.
Speaking of moving it along,
can I be the pedantic comic guy for a minute?
Yeah.
There's no water in Namor's palace. It's all outside.
Okay.
So to be in the palace, you would need plumbing.
Okay. Well, that shows how backwards they really are. Anyway. All right. Welcome back. We're a
minute
mess.
in.
Welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson.
Are you sure?
Friends Brandon Olmsted and Allan Gilbreth, and the very, Max really threw us for a curve over there behind
and we're
the glass.
a minute in.
Yeah, with that weird rejoiner. Hey, guys, so before the break, we were talking about Ahsoka, episodes 1 and 2. I will give them credit that they weren't trying to be. I felt like this show had a unique texture. It didn't feel to me like The Mandalorian, and they weren't trying to be like Andor with maybe the more I don't know. It felt like its own show, and I think they're doing a great job. Like I said, my only critique is I want to see maybe a little more emotion out of Rosario Dawson's character, about her portrayal of Ahsoka. But really, beyond that, I mean,
And I think
it's been good. There's been a good blending of action, not talking too much either, which is good.
And we get the perfect merchandising opportunity with Sabine Wren's new Loth Cat.
Oh, yeah. You're going to see plushies of that, right?
Oh, there's Tukas everywhere.
Hey, Brandon, you were telling us something off air, though. I am curious because I've always thought Ahsoka's fighting style, and I like her lightsabers. They're unique. And you said those are obviously coming on the market, right?
Well, I mean,
versions of those.
Her lightsabers have been on the market before. Both her Padawan sabers, which are the rounded ones, and her non-Jedi sabers. Because
right.
One thing that they don't really mention in the show is she's not a Jedi.
Yeah.
That's just facts, guys. I'm sorry. She walked away from the Order a long time ago, which is why her sabers are white. But
white indicates something. I can't remember what it is because all the colors indicate something. Right. Do you remember what it is? We have to Google it.
Not offhand. I'd have to Google it, and I'm just not going to waste y'all's time with that.
Can I salute something they did in this show too, Brent? There were three instances where they could have done a very tiresome trope, you could say, where basically Sabine really dropped the ball. She basically got that thing stolen by her own arrogance and her own whatever. And the typical thing would have been to have a 3-minute lecture sequence where Ahsoka's, berating her and tearing her, whatever. But they didn't do that.
No.
There was a lot of restraint. I know, Max, you always like when writers are restrained. And I thought, I don't know, I like it. I like what's shaping up here in this season. So.
Oh, gee. Her lightsabers are white because that is indicative of her having cleansed herself and the kyber crystals of.
Is that what that means? Okay.
Yeah. But here's the thing.
I had one Jedi fact,
right.
and I could use it.
But
so
I'm going to say the story's interesting. I like the fact that they're going after Thrawn. They might be getting Ezra back in the meantime. I have a whole another theory on that one.
Yeah.
But I am going to just go out on there. And my favorite character, first of all, I'm a Sabine Wren fan, and I hate having to say she's not my favorite character in the show.
Yeah.
That's Balin Skull.
Okay.
The leader of the Dark Jedi.
I was about to ask.
Not a Sith. He is a Dark
that
Jedi.
actor passed away after.
Ray Stevenson. He passed away shortly after production was over. And,
well, they brought them in early, and I like those two. His apprentice, and what's his apprentice's name? Because
Shin Hati.
She's another one. They did not fall into the whole Marvel these days with their TV shows. Man,
they got it
too much talking, and it's the opposite. They're just they're letting their actions speak for them.
I don't really want to get on a tangent, but I mean that just seems indicative of pop culture shows in general. Whether it's a superhero show or your newest sci-fi thing, they want to over-explain everything. One of the things I loved about Star Trek and Star Wars was learning as I went.
Right. Let us figure it out.
And too often with your superhero shows or your teen dramas or anything, they have to explain everything to you right off the bat, and it gets annoying as all get out.
It's almost sort of like an insecurity. It's like you're afraid your audience won't get it. So it's like you're afraid of being too highbrow or too esoteric.
Exactly.
Right. And in doing so, you get people so used to being hand-fed everything that if you give them something traditional like a cliffhanger, they freak out.
Right. Yeah.
Can we talk about when that happened with The Walking Dead and you didn't know what happened at the end of the season and everybody bashed AMC for not giving them the whole story? It's like
that's what a cliffhanger is.
Like 10 years before that, if you didn't get a cliffhanger, you were pretty sure your show wasn't coming back.
Right.
And sometimes you got a cliffhanger and your show still didn't come back. Batman 66.
Yeah. Hey, I'm curious. Do we know if there's going to be more than one season of this show?
Right now, we just know that there's the one.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I don't mind
I'm good with it if they give it, and they can evolve this into something else to further the story if need be. We get Ezra back. We could find out something with him and Sabine, and I want to know where Hera's kid is.
Right, and we're gonna get space whales and stuff. That's gonna be cool because I mean they are setting up some pretty cool things. Thrawn too. I mean,
because the heir to the Empire.
What?
The heir to the Empire.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. They're lining up a lot of cool things.
They really are.
No, I'm definitely interested, and I was relieved because Brandon, I'm sorry, The season 3 of The Mandalorian, I can say for myself, I got jaded after that. I'm like,
Well,
okay,
I mean,
any show
you
is
had-
vulnerable,
well, I
even
mean,
one as good
my
as
thing
that.
like this, The Mandalorian, is truncated as it was because of The Last of Us. I'm going to go ahead and blame that on The Last of Us. We did get space whales, and we got Zeb,
Yeah. No,
but that was about it.
it's cool. And I guess, like we say, by Christmas, some cool toys are coming out of this.
Oh
So,
God, yeah.
the lightsabers.
I mean,
everything.
they're not even waiting for Christmas. They're saying, like 1st of November.
Just give me a Thrawn minifigure, please. I think they already have it, but please give me a Thrawn minifigure.
Yeah.
Okay.
All I got to say is I cannot wait for Memphis Comic and Fantasy when I see the Ahsoka Barbie crossover cosplay.
It's coming.
Drop the mic right there. November 10th through 12th. Go get your
Alan,
tickets at-
Alan totally destroyed my stinger.
Get your tickets at memphiscfc.com. Geek Tank's over. We're out of time. Until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Allan Gilbreth.
I'm Maximilian.
And I'm Brandon Olmstead. And having to change my stinger, tune in next week to see if I make it to the studio.